All right, Focus Encounters, welcome back. I'm here in Grapevine, Texas at the blacksmith with
Will Frary.
Will Frary, all the way down from Colorado here in Grapevine. We're taking the time out, or actually he's taking the time out to speak to us about the history of blacksmith in his family, as well as what brought him from Colorado to Grapevine, Texas, from horseshoes all the way to the Crimson Cascade at the place at Perry's. Mr. Frary, thank you very much, very much. In reading your history, or before I even go there, when we first had our conversation, I found out the history of your grandmother and the stove that's sitting behind me. That was a cool story of not putting any coal in it. Tell me about that.
My grandmother, she said I could have that little stove, as that was her last wood cook stove. She said I could have it if I never burned coal in there, because you'll burn the enamel off and warp the lids on it. And okay, Grandma. And so I've been faithful. I have never put coal in there, because she knew I had coal in the shop.
Oh man!
But she got that stove new in the 30s, and in the 40s, grandfather, they got electricity finally, and so he took it to one of the cabins way up on the mountain. And so when I was a little kid in the 50s, well, Grandpa have taken me up there, and we'd work cattle up there on the mountain. And so the cowboys would have me gather kindling. They taught me how to light the fire and everything, which was cool for me. So the cabin would be warm when they got up. And so this stove would heat the cabin, and then they taught me how to fry bacon and eggs and pancakes and cook breakfast and oatmeal on there, and then we'd cook venison and elk, and we'd go fishing and catch trout and put them on there, and I'd cook those, learn how to bake biscuits and pie, and learn how to cook on,
what kind
on
of
that
pie?
old stove. Oh, we had apple.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. On the ranch, and peaches. So it was good.
That's
I
awesome.
get to roll out the dough and everything. It was fun.
So they were kind of preparing you for any kind of trail ride.
Well, no, I think Grandpa was having the cowboys teach me, because he couldn't. I wasn't teachable according to him.
Oh, he was. Oh.
So it was okay to learn from the cowboys.
Oh, wow. And you know, another part of your history, which I really found interesting, and really is the foundation of your, it's your ministry, it's your business, it's your heart, it's your work, but the coal chute that your grandfather gave you, or that great-grandfather, correct?
The coal forge.
Yes.
Yes. Well, this great-grandfather's coal forge that got me started in the 80s, but when we were up on the mountain, grandfather he had given me this wild horse, and I'd ride him. But then he said, well, one day, well, McGee, since you have your own horse now, you're going to have to learn how to shoe him if you want to ride with the cowboys on the mountain.
Right.
So I learned how to shape the shoes and all of that, and shoe my own horse. He was a wild horse, about 15 years old, but he knew everything that a cow would do. He was trained as a stock horse, and so he'd know what the cow was going to do before the cow knew it, where she'd go and which way she'd turn and everything. So he taught me how to be a cowboy.
Oh, wow.
Because Grandpa couldn't.
Because Grandpa couldn't. But you know, Grandfather did something for you. You still have his history and his understanding of life as well. And you know, in that, you know, what brought you from Colorado all the way down here to Grapevine?
Well, we came down for grandbabies ourselves, so that was kind of cool. And then they moved, so we stayed. I found the blacksmith shop here, and they needed a blacksmith in Grapevine, and I fell for it. Here we are. I've been here about 7 years now, so it's been pretty cool to be a part of the history here at Grapevine, and part of the history that I can share of my world, coming from the ranch and cowboying and smithing and shoeing. I fired up Great Grandpa's old forge in the 80s when I moved back to the ranch, and so I'm still using it here today. And I have his anvil, and I have grandfather's anvil that my uncle gave me a year before he passed away. I learned how to shoe my horse on that old anvil, and my mother and father had shot horses on it, and my uncle and grandpa and all that. So it was kind of close to my heart whenever I'd hear it ring. And when I fired up Great Grandpa's old forge, I took the anvil and hammered on some iron hammered iron on it, and it started ringing. and this most beautiful ring. It was just like reverberated. It was like it was happy,
Oh,
you know, to
wow.
be used again.
Uh-huh.
And so that kind of set off the start of my blacksmith. And I ended up doing a lot of work at the high-end homes in Aspen and Vail. And one home I worked on a house for 3 years on doing projects as they were building the house. It was 26,000 square feet in it.
Wow.
And so there was iron all over and outside, in the airplane hangar, and in the observatory, and the guest house, and the ranch gates, and the 3-story horse barn. It was a big project, so that was fun.
Oh, man. So, speaking of projects, what are you currently working on?
Oh, right now we've got lessons and stuff going on here, and these guys are supposed to be working and hammering in here a little bit now, but I don't know what's going on.
I think they decided to take a break.
Since I'm sitting here taking a break, they're not working. So, but lessons are big here. There's been a lot of interest and revival in blacksmithing, and
That's
so
awesome.
people are just having fun working with their hands again. There's IT people that they just they need to come in and pound on something instead
Really?
of the computer, you know.
Really?
Use your hands, and so it's down to the basics of everything. The little boys that come in, they can you make a sword or a knife? and little girls that come in, can you make me something for, you know, that I can use in the kitchen, or pretty, or a flower or something like that. And there's just that much difference between our makeup as male and female.
And you know, you said something interesting about people wanting to get back to working with their hands. As I was coming down here and reading the background as well, you're part of SOMA, which stands for South on Main Street?
South on Main Artists.
And that was awesome because you have the blacksmith, you have the foundry, and the glass blowing all in line.
All 4 hot arts are right here in Grapevine, right here in this Cotton Belt Depot district right here.
Oh, wow.
The hottest arts in Texas right here.
That's cool. How long have you been part of that?
So I've been here about 7 years. We started that about 3 years ago, and so that's kind of been coming along. We've also have the galleries, and we're part of the gallery trail here. I do a lot of collaboration with the glass shop, like you mentioned earlier, the Crimson Cascade. We made the largest chandelier in Dallas at a restaurant
gorgeous.
in Dallas. It hangs 30 feet from the ceiling. We had to take it through 2 small doors, so I had to build it so that it would fit. We did a test piece to like insert this spiral that's 14 feet in diameter, but we had to spiral it in through this door and get it all into the building in 4 pieces, and then hang it in sections coming down. It took 4 days to get it all put together.
Really? Wow. 350
long red glass tubes that the glass shop blew to put on my chandelier, and they were filled with LEDs, and we had a lighting company come in and get them all lit, and made it really cool. Beautiful piece.
And see, that's where the artistry really comes in,
Yeah.
because you started with horseshoes, but you didn't realize how that was going to evolve into something so grand like that, and that just truly is spectacular. I, for one, love art, and as I was speaking to one of your class or students here, Greg, he was talking about how a lot of people think of blacksmith as just horseshoes and wrought iron, but how much it has evolved over the year, because art is so various, so many different mediums and genres per se, and you guys have taken something that is so raw and turned it into something that is so beautiful as well. I definitely appreciate that. What can you tell us about when you're going through the process of making pieces? What are you thinking about? What are you feeling?
I want to kind of look as natural as it can. Art's an illusion. I can't recreate exactly what God's created in like a rose. Could you bring me the railroad spike rose, please?
The railroad spike rose. Over by the door. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Thank you.
Action.
So like this is I like to recycle, and I walk the walk here and talk the talk.
Yes, sir.
So this is made from 4.5 railroad spikes, and the petals, sepals, leaves, and stem are all forged out of those railroad spikes. So it was something, and it became more.
It did.
Instead of just being melted down and shipped to China and sent back as something that breaks.
Oh.
And so this is one of my projects. I use my great grandfather's hammer still, and his anvil and forge and everything to do that. I take cable spools and I take the bolts out of them. I use the wood out of the cable spools to heat the iron to forge it with. And so that's another example of recycling. And another, you want to hold this a minute?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Got it.
And so this one is probably my most recent recycling project. And this was a square piece of I-beam from the World Trade Towers. And I made a Viking style knife. This style was made over 1,000 years ago. And you could like let it hang on your finger and do your work like that. It wouldn't fall off the ship when you're out sailing, and get back to work and do that with it.
Wow.
And so it's like way cool and fits in there. So I make a lot of these out of the bolts from the battleship Texas. I've got some bolts, and they've been fun to do, and I just love to make something that has a story to it. That it was something, and that it can still be, for generations even.
And that definitely does. We're going to take a break on that. Guys, we're going to step away for a moment, and when we come back, we're going to show you exactly what Will does for a living.